So far, we found that from our last analysis that let's run this video quickly for some time, and then maybe you will understand what I was trying to tell. So in this video, will be quickly explained about different scenarios.
We have a staircase here. You can see the diagram. What we are trying to do is, for now, don't see any of these things. Later, I'm going to visit.
See about the two-way switch. See what are the objects which connect to the problem or task we have to do. So the task which, so this is the switch last time we saw, right? And now we had concluded how the wiring was done and all. This is just to recollect what I was telling. Now let's try to draw the objects out of this, and then put those objects. We call this as business objects, right? In terms of our application world. We also saw how did we get these objects. So let's get these objects first: bulb, power, ground force switch, top load switch. And there is an event object which we'll talk later, but first let's talk about this. So let's go to let's revisit what we saw. In our analysis, we have first drawn out the objects connected to the problem. The first object is, of course, the bulb. Then the second object is the second object is ground switch. No. Let's get that first here. No. This is the second object. I would call this as ground floor switch. Then we have another object. Top floor switch. Then we have another object. And what is that? You guessed it right. That is power. Beautiful. So far, so good. Excellent. So we recognize the objects now. Now we know the relationship also. Bulb is dependent on ground force switch to get power to enlighten the bulb, right? Means to get the light to the bulb. then bulb is dependent on top floor switch to disconnect power and make it off. Beautiful. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 objects. Now what we are going to do is, so here we are back now again, and we are going to analyze those objects which we just talked about here in our section: bulb, ground floor switch, power, top floor switch. So these are what? These are our objects, or they are the objects. For now, let's not worry about what is there inside. Approximately see what are the dependencies. So if we have these dependencies, let's first, make them as beans, bean definition. So here's our bean definition. What you see is an XML file, beans.xml file. On the top is your XST, which is expressing the definition of elements. And what happens now is that we have a bean which has got an ID as bulb. And the class is com.realworld.bulb. Let's not worry of what attributes are there inside that and what methods are there for now. We have another bean, which is ground floor switch bean. We have a identification as ground floor switch. The class is com.realworld.ground floor switch. We have top floor switch. Bean ID is top floor switch. Class is com.realworld.top floor switch. And then we have bean ID as power and class is com.realworld.power supply. Okay, so let's call this way. So far so good. Now what we are going to do is that we are going to define these classes inside our say our Eclipse project. So here we are. Now we will have a Spring initializer, and we'll see this example as com.realworld. Okay, and the artifact is demo real world. Dependency injection. So far so good. Now let's not add any dependencies, or let's take a JSP dependency for now. A dependency time leaf. Let's see Java server pages. There's no JSP. I'm surprised. There should be Java server pages. Anyway, let's see how we can include JSP inside SpringBoot. With SpringBoot. So what do they say? How to create JSP with SpringBoot, right? They take this project and then I think they have web. Then what are we going to have other than web? So you have view resolver also here. Do we need anything for the view resolver? Okay, for the timing, we'll just have a so we'll have a Spring with GSP, right? So what do they say for that? You should go to Spring Analysis page, and then these are the project dependencies. Come on, man. Okay, let's include only the web, and then we'll really understand. I don't think we need, there is something like Spring Boot and GSP. There is something like Spring Boot and web. That's what I can see. So a Spring Boot web application using Tomcat plus GSP template. So this is what it shows. Now for JSP, we need just need to add these dependencies which are shown here. The first one is a JSTL, that is Java standard tag library for JSP. And then we are having a Jasper, which is needed, to compile JSP, gdt.core compiler and a Jasper. So these three things we need. And then we need static contains like Bootstrap, CSS and all. So these things we can add later. For now, we'll say we'll need web, right? Web security. Okay. Press control for multiple ads. So I'm saying Spring Web. Then is there something like Jasper? No. JSTL? No. So all we have is web. Then let's have DevTools. Then do we need Lombok? Spring Web, REST Repository, Spring Etios. Let's see Thymeleaf. I have never tried Thymeleaf. Let's have Thymeleaf. And then let's have this Spring. Thymeleaf is over. Then free marker, right? Apache free marker. So this generates text output HTML web pages and all. Let's have this one. Good. So we included Spring Web, which will include Spring MVC for us, which we'll need in future. Then we have Spring Boot Dev Tools. Then we have Thymeleaf template engines. And then we have Apache free marker. Let's generate this. So we are going to create a project, real world dependency injection, and then our base package will be com.realworld, right? Let's finish this. And then new window. Then what we're going to do is we are going to say file open so we have an option to import here, right? One way we could do this. The way is that generally what happens is that when you download something, you can expand this somewhere. Let's go to this directory and then paste it. Properties, unblock, apply, okay. Let's extract all. So when you extract all, you get a folder here. So I'm going through my real world dependency injection, and then I'm going to open in my folder Anil demo real world dependency injection, and I'm going to POM file here, and I'm going to say okay. Open as a project. Now what it starts doing is that it starts importing everything. Let's call this as new window. So now it has started importing that whole project. Let the import be complete, and then so this is what we see after the import. Let's see, we have a main program, Java program, com.realworld, and then we have, wow, we have a SpringBoot application. And then we have the jar files, associated jar files. Let's see what is there in the resources. So we have templates, static templates. Okay. Then so far so good. Now what we're going to do is that in this com.real.world, I'm going to start having my classes. So as per my analysis here, where we define bean, right? Let's start defining these beans now. So let's have a bulb object, a bulb class, right? So let's forget this screen, otherwise it will confuse us. Now, new class, the class name is bulb. Okay. Now what's the, okay, let's name this class as com dot, it's becoming unnecessary big, but we'll still bear with this. Dot bulb. First class is done. So let's go to the next class now. Next Java class is ground floor switch. What happened? Oh, it opened another class, ground floor switch. So let's name this as ground floor switch. Right? The next is top floor switch. Wow, we got top floor switch class. Now we need the power supply class. So we have 4 classes now: bulb, ground floor switch, power supply, top floor switch. This is demo real dependency injection. Let's not worry about that now. Now what we do is in the resources file, we'll have our beans.xml, correct? But we need to correct this. Okay. So let's say beans.xml. New file, let's name this as beans.xml. And let's copy all this which is there inside this. Okay. So what we did now, just to recap, we recognize the objects. We have just recognized the objects, right? We recognize their dependencies, and then we have given a bean definition for them. So is the bean file okay? The beans.file x file, is it okay, or it's having some problem? To me, it looks like there is element bean is not closed. Okay. So let's close this bean. Let's put this way. See, it went off. So that means even this notation is fine. So we close this. Let's observe this file. Okay, here we come. We have defined the beans.xml, and we have defined the objects: bulb, ground floor switch, top floor switch, power supply. Okay, now in my next episode, we are going to define this objects in detail. Okay, that means what properties it will have, what methods it will have, how do we make this as bean. That means we will put the getters and setters for this. So far so good. Let's stop here.